Hello and welcome. I'm going to convert core.html to a markdown file that's a little bit more user-friendly. If we look at it right now, go ahead and run Simpatico. And we look at core. There's not much here. This is in contrast to other files that are a lot more visually interesting. Really, it's the literate markdown format is quite good, and I want to use it for core. So that's the plan. The other thing too is I've made recent changes that make this head part optional. So we're going to go ahead and create our core.md first. Going to remove the head. Now, by the way, and we don't need body tags anymore in HTML5. Anyway, so luckily this page is very, very simple. We can do this by hand. However, if you have a more involved HTML file you want to convert to Markdown, I highly recommend Pandoc, which I have used in the past. But for this, we're just going to do a pretty typical Markdown stuff. We don't need this anymore. Also, in terms of Markdown authoring, I like to do one sentence per line. This actually makes it easy to move sentences around, which I find pretty awesome, actually. So instead of a script, we're going to do this. We might cut this up a little bit more later. Kind of not sure why I'm not seeing syntax highlighting here. This import might also conflict with the default imports. I'll have to check on that. But let's go ahead and check out. Yeah, here the syntax highlighting is working now. Let's check it out. So it's working. Great. Let's make sure that our test functionality is still working. So let's make something false. Good. So we get the change in fav icon and the change in the background when something breaks. Breaking this up. So core, I think, has a couple of pieces. So the first piece are the predicates. Let's take a look at it for a second. So core is really just a big long laundry list of stuff that I find useful. It's about 350 lines of code, and it's got like errors, assertions, a stringification utility, some functional object helpers, equals methods or functions, clone method. Some of these some I use, some I don't. I use some of them a lot, like assert equals. These are occasionally handy. Peek is very useful, actually. Some of the array methods actually return a copy. Some of them modify in place, so I have alternatives for those. But the main reason why core exists and why it's important is because of the type stuff and the predicates and assertions. So we have all of the basic JavaScript types. These are what I call synthetic types, but they're still built in. And then these are actually special Simpatico types, which generally aren't useful for anything other than Simpatico, but I added them here anyway. We have a get type function, which is handy. A size, which for the most part falls through, like for example, all of undef null and element returns 0, for example. This type of thing doesn't come up very often, but it's nice to have. Cast is useful. Again, a lot of these functions are used only in one or two places. However, these predicates here that are prefaced with is are actually super useful. And then I actually map from the list of predicates into a set of assertions that are prefixed by as. So is and as. I use these all the time. So really want to highlight probably three things then: assertions, predicates, and I guess I'll call them, I guess I'll just say predicates and assertions, two things. There's also a handy, although it's kind of unnecessary now, this random number generator, a shuffle. This is kind of an interesting one, a parse an object literal string, which came from a need to, I wanted an ergonomic way to pass a JSON object on the command line without having to quote things and escape quotes. Here's a set of handy dandy regexes. This, it looks like I never used it, but yeah. This is actually useful in one place. This is used for serializing and deserializing some of Simpatico's internals, and then this is just a set of export statements. So yeah, in terms of what users will want, it's really the predicates and the assertions. So let's break it up. Well, let's do three things. Well, predicates and types. Oh, and logging, yeah. Or utilities. Things like log, debug, assert throws, assert equals. Okay, so there's a couple of things here. I do want to break this up, this really long test, into and this should be prefixed with is. I'm not sure why it isn't. I think this is probably not a good so I actually need to fix this as well. Like, I don't think this is correct to destructure the contents of assertions into unprefixed versions. There's a few different reasons for that. Number one, it's harder to read. Number two, it's harder to find. So, like, I don't think import star as C is necessarily good. I think import star would be better, and then just use as is. However, I could also just do C as, and take this out entirely, replace, or just add c.as to all of this. That's a style thing, though. I don't really care that much. I think these tests are also probably incomplete. I mean, I don't see... I see some things, I don't see others. Like, I don't see tests of any of those regexes. I don't see tests of the random number generators, just to make sure at least that the correct types and lengths come out, you know, that kind of thing. It also would probably be good to have this detail, since this file is really only about this code. Be good to expand this by default, which is something I might want to consider building into the default header. Well, let's just break it. Let's break it up a little bit. So this is interesting. These are some commented out things. So let's take this as our first cut and do this. So if we don't want to execute stuff, we can actually do that with this. Okay. My backticks aren't working quite right. Something like this. So we can just say it'd be kind of nice to give the user a way to execute it. The other problem with this, with breaking it up like this, is that C may not exist in the default import. So let's just stop for a second and see what's going on. Yeah. So there's a question about the default imports. Do I want them to be exported as C or not? Currently, I don't think it is. Default exports are defined in the litmd code. The default header. Use the structure thing. Default. Actually, it's in the script pass-through extension. So if we wanted to take detail, like not hide the code, we'd actually take it out here. The default imports. Oh, they're up here. Interesting. So what I'd like to do, it's not a terrible idea, but I'm not really sure if there is a good way. So what I can do is do import star as C from core, and it'll work, but it might break other stuff. It probably will break other stuff. And in fact, I don't necessarily want to have to type C dot assert equals or C dot assert throws. So actually, this is a question of what works in this case. Can I do another import? So import. Whoa, what happened there? What's going on? That was weird. So this is two import statements. I'm not a super fan of this, but even if it does work, I mean, it seems like I could just pull it out of C. Maybe that's what I'll do. Okay, I'll just do that. Okay, we're making a change, big change here. All right. May God have mercy on our souls. That might actually be cached. He's already been cleared, yeah. Okay. You don't need any of this here. Great. So we got past that error. Let's just make sure that this executes. Yeah, it does. Great. Add that star back to prevent it from executing. So we can call it this way, but we're gonna let's just see. Let's add assert in there too. Let's get that out of here. That's good enough for now. Error is not defined. So caching should be turned off. Just double check. Use cache false. Not sure why this is showing up. Oh. Error is not defined. Oh, I see, I see. So we do want C dot here. Interesting. So did I mess up here? What is the do not execute? Oh, yeah. Okay. I forgot my own convention around this. It's actually this. Okay, great. We got past that. Assert has prop A. So A does not exist because it's up here. Yeah, we're gonna have to repeat this. Just put it up here. Actually, do we need it? We don't really need it up here anyway. It's not a good test. Not a super fan of this. Let's just add this. First 4 statements, log facility. Okay. It's actually the first 3 statements. Let's try it again. This would be nice if it was a date. It's to UTC. Oops. There. Oh, TNet. This must be a timestamp. I think it is. Which means it's not very useful. I tend not to use it very often, so I should probably just remove it from core, to be honest. Let's not worry about that right now. So this is actually kind of interesting. Debug level will not show up if you have this set, if you take that off. And it's retroactive. So, yeah, I think that's interesting. Verbose. All right, so let's look at the next error. Stir foobar. So this should be C-stir. Or actually is. All of these should be is. Or actually as. Okay. That should get us past that. Yeah, same stuff. Why is that being weird about this formatting? Actually, let's put them together. So as I'm going through here, I'm also kind of keeping an eye on what needs to be kind of how it could be cut up. Okay, so maybe this will run. Did. Great. Let's see if everything else runs. Nope. One thing, crypto's failing. So let's go ahead and fix that while it's still in our mind. Let's see what the problem is. Identifier assert. Aha. Well, that should be easy to fix. It's not showing me the source. 160 looks like. One problem with doing literate markdown is that the line numbers don't exactly match up, which is kind of annoying. I still think it's better than having a source map, but that doesn't look right. This doesn't look like an array. Why is it giving me combined 2? Assert has already been declared, crypto line 60, but when I click on it, nothing happens. Well, let's look for the use of assert. Let's see. Ah. I do like having log as a top level. Let's add that too. Might as well put debug. Log is not defined, but it is. let's just, this never works, but I'm gonna restart. No. Log has already been declared, okay. Import log. So let's just get rid of this. And then we'll replace map object and get prop. Let's see, with the prefix version. I don't see it used anywhere, so let's just remove it. Oops. Another similar problem. C-log or log here. There we go. This is a problem. This is interesting. I was playing around with the functional, the import function here for some reason. Let's get rid of that. Kind of interesting. Okay, that was probably the problem. Yep, that was it. So this is fine now. Make sure this still works. It does. Actually, let's call this logging. This is kind of a weird one. Testing this, we don't need this. Although I do want to. This is the interactive. This is weird. It should go toward the bottom because it's like you want to make sure. Yeah. You want to make sure that these things actually error and cause a visible problem, but you don't want that to actually happen in your test runs. It's kind of like an occasional thing, because if I do that, it will error, which is good, actually. And actually, that I just realized that probably should comment these out, because in general, you'll want to just test one at a time. So like this, that's actually wrong. Oh, it's not executing. A little note in here. Okay. So these are some object things. Okay, so let's break this up here. It's like functional object functions. figure out why IntelliJ is doing this. I think what's happening is it thinks I want closing backticks, but I don't. And maybe I should just copy this and keep it in the buffer for now. Equals. There's some. Doesn't quite match. Not sure what that is. It's currying object. All right, so these are Booleans. I'm just gonna do a quick cut here. This is like a weird, very strange test of predicates. The C is unnecessary. But predicate should be tested somewhere else. They're sort of tested indirectly by the assertions. So I feel like... Just don't fit. But I'm going to keep them there to expand later. It should be closer to the assertions, but I'm not going to worry about it too much right now. Oops. So this is just a very synthetic way to deal with, to show a curry. Doesn't, I don't know. I barely use this stuff, or I barely use curry, so I feel like this is kind of overkill. Arrays, okay. I don't like this name. We're pushing. Yeah, it's just an array. Like, why is it called grow? It's growing, but let's call it R1. Oh, you know what? This is functional, like non-mutating. It's actually useful, and I should probably use them more, but okay. And this is types. This is kind of an interesting one. Kind of using the full power of the fact that I have control over this getType method. So these are Simpatico specific. Let's put that in here. Call it duck typing. Because if it looks like a duck, you know, it's really a matter of judgment whether or not this goes in the literate markdown or in a comment. I think in this case, it deserves to be in the comment, just because it would be weird to make a break here and talk about size, because it's such a minor, like another minor feature of core, in my opinion. That's fine. And here's assertions. Very useful. This is, and it relies on predicates and types. So like, this is really where, for me, the rubber hits the road. I really like programming with assertions, and I actually like this convention a lot of having as dot and then kind of a well-known list of things. Okay. This is testing assert equals when we already... this should go in assertions. This all should go up in assertions, actually. Let's move it. Actually, let's do this. Don't think there's anything that's required in here. This actually goes well. Can get rid of this. Okay, A is not defined. Oh, yeah, I need these. The nice thing about literate markdown too, if you noticed, is that I'm reusing the same constant names in different code blocks. That's because each one is a module. It has its own namespace. And I don't need it, don't need it. Do need it. But only for this. I don't really care about that test. Let's see. Yeah, so this is kind of one of those weird things where is this with arrays or with equals? Because it's equals and arrays. So we'll just copy that and not worry about it. I feel like this is something's weird. R1 has already been declared. Oh, yeah. Interesting. I wonder how this ever worked. It doesn't matter. We can adjust it. Let's see. So we're peaking. That's 5. And now we're redefining R1 for some reason. Why? Let's just not do 135. R2. We'll call it R5. All right, great. Does this not work? Why is it commented out? Yeah, looks fine. Okay, so let's put another break in this. I guess it's just utilities, but specifically this is used for the reflector arguments. Just get rid of this. We don't need this either. Let's do So this is testing serialization, deserialization, which is used in, actually I forgot where it's used, but probably eventually in chat. Great. I think that's it. So we have a pretty nice, I haven't written anything about them. But this was a good start. Let me see where this is used. Yeah, S-tree. It's actually, I'm glad that I can do this, you know, separately from having a default import of C for everything. So I'm like importing things multiple times, which might seem a little bit confusing, but I think this is pretty nice. I think the browsers, the ESM modules are actually quite good, the way that they're written. So there it is. We've converted core.html into a much better, I think, core MD. And we're going to delete this. And let's just make sure there's no core.html references. There is. Okay. So, actually I want to do I'll just do it by hand. Oops. Let's take these out. We don't need extensions. Leave them for the index.htmls. All these extensions can go. Actually, should be notes now. Alright, let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of you. Let's do one last search. What's this? Oh, Tufty. I don't know what this is all about. I haven't looked at this in a long time. Get by with even that. Let's see. Where is this? Step 3. Yeah, great. Well, S33 is now failing. I guess I should check acceptance tests for too, also. This file is really too long. And again, Chrome is failing to show me the source. Lame. Why are you not showing me this? Well, anyway, it's far down. It's a bad import, I'm sure. in the thousands. Yeah, this file is way too long. But there's a lot in it. Why do I have so many lines? It's gonna be hard to find without working line numbers here. Let's restart the server and reload this. Maybe we'll get. There we go. Has. Oops. Oh, okay. So this is a straight up name collision. And actually it probably happens in a couple of other places where this string occurs. Oh, maybe not. Let's just call it loggy. See if that works. Good. Oh, something else is broken. 3 more things are broken. Great. Oh well. Not this one. This one. Okay. More log stuff. And again, I can't get the line. Yeah, same issue. Log handler demo. These log handlers are a relatively recent invention, and I haven't quite standardized on them yet since it's combined 2. Okay. Oops. Do the same thing here. It's weird. See if that helps. It does. S tree is also failing. I think that's S tree. I don't know which S tree it is. I need to clean that up. Oh, it's S tree 1. Same problem. Wish I could stop that from popping up. There we go. Good. Strange. This is a different S tree. Okay, let's take a look. Why do I still have a header in this thing? I think I can remove this. Just made that change today. Yeah, this is the one. Log equals log thing again. Yeah, it really sucks that the line numbers don't match up, but it's, as you can see, this is about 100 lines greater than what it really is. Log everything again. Too many G's. Looks like there's another one. SVG is down, probably for the same reason. Let's see. Yeah. It's interesting too that there could be a name collision like that. Particle container. Okay. Oops. Looks like we're good. Well, apart from some name collisions that required some pretty minor adjustments, not a big deal. Wow, it's a lot of changes though. So we actually made a pretty big modification to lit MD.